Hey everyone. It's the middle of the night. I can't sleep. I decided I'd record another world building. So, how's everyone doing? Yeah, so I did Hunted last week. I guess I'll just alternate unless I have like something I'm really thinking about for one of the other ones. Actually, hmm, hmm, maybe I don't go into these with like a plan. Uh, hmm, I have something I could talk about because it relates to a bunch of different things going on right now. Between games I'm playing and my own stuff. So yeah, let's talk about diversity. And not just like diversity for the sake of diversity, which isn't honestly really a thing unless you're a dumb white boy trying to appeal to an audience that you don't understand. Uh, I'm talking more about like the way that it's handled in a universe. Because some people use diversity as like a flagpole. Like they have it in there specifically just to go, hey, look how diverse my work is, and try to attract a crowd, aka people who don't actually understand what the fuck they're writing about. A lot of the times that has to do with straight white male authors who think they're doing the world a favor by writing about, POC or LGBT people and getting it completely wrong. And sometimes it's just people who are in those situations wanting to make things that have to do with the stuff they're writing about, like the stuff they live with. And that's what's happened with both Dead and Hunted over the years. Like, I started Dead in 2010. Well, I started working on it in 2010. Yeah, it might have been 2000. It might have been even earlier because I was out in Utah at the time. Shit, it could have been all the way back to like 2008, 2009. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like late 2008 to early 2009 I started the first like thing that had Jack in it. And yeah. Wow. It has been forever. That was back when he was Jack the Ripper. Like I was making a actual fourth wall breaking story about Jack the Ripper. It was terrible. Like really, really atrocious. If I can find that anywhere, I will post it because it's really bad. As a matter of fact, I'll go look for that right now while I'm doing this. But I don't know. I've changed a lot in the 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years almost. 7 years since I started working on Dead, and I have like my life has changed. My like outlook on things has changed. My sexuality and my gender presentation and like everything about myself has changed. I'm more accepting of being black, and I am more there's a lot that has changed about me in the years that I have started this stuff, I think I might have found it. Um and so I ended up I don't know. I ended up changing a lot of the things that I had started, years ago, back when I was a very different person and had a very different outlook on things. and didn't feel the way I do about things now. Like, and it's very much just changed how I look at stuff and how I want to create things. Like, if you look at the original Deadcast, 2 of the members of the original cast were POC. Everyone else was white. And then Nathan was added, and so he would have been the third. It would have been Redacted, Victoria, and Nathan. Of the original 11. 3 of 11. Everyone else was white or a robot. There was one robot. I didn't have any characters with disabilities. I didn't have characters with anything. Like, everybody was, well, at the time for me, as well as I could draw, conventionally attractive and most all white and like neurotypical, and there was only, well, yeah, one gay character. Like, things were very different for myself and for Dead and for Hunted. Like, Hunted was, well, Hunted's gone through a lot of changes though. Although Hunted kind of always has had a pretty different cast. But yeah, especially with Dead changed a ton in terms of presentation. I actually wrote something about this with about it for specifically. Excuse me, I am tired. It is the middle of the night and I have to go to work in the morning and I cannot sleep, so I might yawn a few times in here and might miss a cut, so sorry in advance. I wrote a bit about it on my dumb blog about specifically Victoria and Julia and how they've changed over the course of, since I guess their first designs were 2011, it says here. I'm sure I have stuff older than that, but just the file dates were 2011. So that's the earliest that I have something that I could go from a date. But I think the first thing I ever wrote with Jack in it was like early 2009, probably. And so they've changed a lot, and the entire cast has. Like, I had all thin characters. The only one who was even remotely, like, somewhat overweight would have been Lacey. And that was, I don't know. It was just a different time in my head and how I looked at things. And over those years, it shows just in that. And probably if I went and redrew the entire cast, which eventually I will, I'm not confident in my art. I did the new picture of Victoria and Julia's designs, and since then have not been able to draw anything really. I need to, but damn, it's really hard. Buying a new tablet today. But it's one of those things that I look at it like this. I want to see more of these kinds of things in media, and nobody's making them outside of other people like me. So I might as well contribute something. And Dead is as close as I can get to that. And so is Hunted. But especially with Dead, because it's going to be more... I say it's going to be. It is a more visual thing. I mean, even if it is like I'm planning on turning it into, because a comic is just really hard for myself to do, because I'm not a very good artist and Max is super busy. So it's not something that we can feasibly work on together. But we still want to work together on it, and so I'm going to turn it more into written with illustration, which works. It shows more things. Like, Victoria has a bunch of scars, and Julia is, I mean, without her prosthetic arm, she's disabled. Like, she has one arm, and she's overweight, and which a lot of that has to also do just because she is physically strong. She doesn't tone or do anything like that, but they are very different now than when they started. Julia used to be a rail thin blonde with super pale skin and I believe blue eyes originally. Like, she was very, very stereotypical and very, I don't know, it's green eyes. Green eyes are original color, so they still are. Couldn't remember if I changed those to green or if not. But they have changed a ton, and so has everything else. Like, a lot of the way I approach it has changed. They originally weren't even together. Like, the original of them was Julia was going to be one of the main big bads for a while, because, you know, that makes a ton of sense for that. And stuff like that. Like, it was going to change to... It was a way for me to kind of just, like, look at things and go, well, this is kind of like me. Julia looks actually physically kind of like me. I have smaller boobs, sadly, but I mean, she has the same kind of body as I do. I'm physically strong, but still have a good chunk of fat on me and stuff like that. I walk everywhere, so I have fairly large legs, and like, she's very much like me. And it wasn't 100% intentional to do that, just like it wasn't 100% well, no, it was for Grace. Grace was literally just a self-insert. Originally she was. She became something different, and Clem has changed a ton. Like, Clem was super skinny and stuff like that, and eventually now, because it wouldn't make a ton of sense for somebody who really, her character is that she doesn't do much of anything. I don't know. I don't know. She doesn't do much physically. Like, Clem is very, because of a lot of things from her past, like the whole, and this is all stuff that I've talked about before in like posts and stuff like that, but because she had a really bad experience with magic when she was younger, and on top of that, losing her mom and PTSD and like depression and stuff, she doesn't physically do a lot of stuff. She's not one who cares about her body much because she doesn't see a point in it, and she's very hard on herself in a lot of ways. She doesn't do the things that she knows she should, and so she's overweight, and she doesn't take care of her hair, so it's kind of like long and just kind of messy, and just generally she has like an unkempt look about her because she doesn't do anything about that. So she ends up being more, again, like me. Like, depression is something that kicks your ass, and it's not fun, and you end up being more and more lost in it because you can't stop it. You can't just go, oh, well, I just won't be depressed today. It's something that eats at you for a very long time, and that's what's done to her. She's, 20 in the comic, and she's just had a lot of things to deal with. She's lost a parent. Has a father who's a fucking ex-mafia enforcer. Like, she's seen some shit growing up, and it's led to her being as she is. And a lot of characters have that kind of stuff. Like, they have different things about them that weren't there originally, and the way that they've changed has turned them into something completely different. Like, Nathan was literally just, like, I threw him in because I'm like, I want a gay character. Because at the time, I was like, hey, boys are cute and I guess I'm a guy and, I want a gay character. And I was also 100% in denial about being trans. Like, I literally have known since I was 9 years old. It's like, fucking Jesus Christ. It's something that I was in denial about for a very long time. But it was my attempt at making a gay character in something which was something I hadn't done before. And I'm glad I did, because it got me more and more confident in doing other things. Like, there are 2 trans characters of mine. One is in Dead and one is in Hunted. You might find the one in Hunted pretty soon. The one in Dead, you'll see. That's actually going to be an entire portion of something. That's an entire arc that I have planned. So, I don't know. It's something that I just... If you add in things that are diverse, because they are experiences that you have, and you have an understanding of those things. Like, if you are trans, write trans characters if you want to. Like, there's nothing fucking stopping you. If you're gay, write gay characters. If you're POC, write all the fucking POC characters you want. Like, all of these things put into things. Like, I've been playing Read Only Memories, and in the... How long have I played that game? It's only been for recording, so it hasn't even been that long. I have played 106 minutes of this game. I have so far met a non-binary character, a lesbian character, a Pakistani character, a disabled character, and I know of at least one trans character. And none of it's shoehorned in, none of it is just there to be there. It's a, like, fully cohesive world that stands on its own. Like, it goes... It shows itself as a... I don't know how to say it. I don't know how... it's the middle of the night, and it's really hard for me to say things right now. It shows that there are more than a few things around. That shows that there are more than just cis white gay dudes, or cis white straight dudes, or cis women and stuff like that. Like, it shows that there are this massive spectrum of people, and from race to religion to gender identity to sexual orientation to anything else. Like, there's so many things that you can include, and even if you don't experience those things, if you learn enough about them, if you learn and take those things into consideration, you can actually make something that isn't shitty. Like, you can make things that don't shit all over the people that you're quote unquote trying to represent. You can just go and add something in to it, and you can do things better if you know and understand it. Like, having the stereotypical effeminate gay guy, while they exist, I work with one and he's lovely, I adore him, but while they exist, they aren't the only gay guys in the world. Like, there is no one way that gay people act, or trans people act, or anything else. Like, there are trans people who will never have surgery. There are trans people who desperately need to have surgery to feel even a modicum of comfort in their own bodies. there are trans people who do their own stuff, like who will attempt to change their voice. There are trans people who won't. There are, gay people who are super flamboyant and feminine. There are gay guys who aren't. There are gay women who cut their hair really short and dress in all flannel. There are gay women who aren't. Like, there's a massive spectrum to how everything in the world exists, and you don't always have to put everything into one little box. This is something that's kind of important to me, because realizing this and looking at things in this way has made me change more and more of how I look at what I'm making and how I'm making it and what I should be doing for it. And I want to continue changing that, and I want to continue making more and more stuff that represents myself and other people around me in a positive way that people can look at and go and identify with, instead of just seeing another white person or another straight person or another it's something that, even if it's not always in like the forefront of everyone's minds, it should be, because more than just you read the things you make, and being inclusive isn't that hard. So yeah, this turned into just more of a ramble about inclusivity and stuff like that than it did about actual stuff in Dead, didn't it? But also, it's how things and why things change and how they change in the things they make. So I guess it does fit. And I'll get back to talking about actual, like, in-universe stuff for both Dead and Hunted next time, but this one was more about the influences for things, I guess. Sorry about the clicking in the background. I'm going through a bunch of stuff as I do this because I have to do a bunch of things before tomorrow. Yeah, I just look at the way that you see the world. Like, take a look at it from your own point of view and then try to imagine it from someone else's and see how it works, see how they might look at it, and if you're making something, try to incorporate that in, because it matters. Because when I got to choose my pronouns in Read Only Memories, and when I met a non-binary character, and when I met POC characters and stuff in that game, it made me happy. Like, this game, I said it on Tumblr and all, but the beginner's guide was an emotional experience for me because it made me realize things about myself that I either was ignoring or didn't realize. And as a game with an emotional punch that just changes how you look at yourself or things around you, there is no better experience for that for me. Like, nothing beats that out. I was fucked up by that game for days, like probably at least a week. That game just really fucked me up. I had that game, and still do probably have that game at the top of my games for this year. And it's very, very hard to depose that. Like, that game is definitely something that is going to stick with me for, if not the rest of my life, many years to come. But Read Only Memories, as it is right now, as I'm playing it, and from what I hope it continues to be, is one of the most... It's one of the most interesting games that makes me feel like I exist. Because I see things of myself in it, because I see people who represent me in there. And that's important to see things like that in media. And people saying, oh, well, it doesn't have to be in every bit of media. It doesn't have to be in this. It's like, but we consume media. Like, just because it's a smaller demographic doesn't mean that it isn't consumed. Like, I consume media. I watch television. I watch TV shows. And when I see a trans character on there, it makes me happy and feel, acknowledged and not like a freak of nature. And when I see a character that's part of, another, I guess, minority that I am, like, I'm a few of them, so seeing those things helps, and seeing those kinds of characters in media helps. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't want it pushed in my face. It's like, I don't want straight people constantly pushed in my face either. I don't want cis people constantly pushed in my face, because it's annoying as fuck. So deal with it too, I guess. Or take a moment and just realize that there are more than just your demographic in the world, and that, I don't know, just make things that include people, and guess what, you'll have a bigger audience, and you'll also help them. So yeah, I'm gonna end this before I continue rambling anymore, and I'll actually talk about something to do with particularly Dead next week, not just rambling about inclusivity. So have a nice night, everyone. I'll see you next time.